These entitled parents try to justify the vandalism of their bratty children. You won't believe what crazy excuses they'll come up with as they victim blame the very people their kids are causing trouble for. Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. Hey all, not me, but a distant cousin of mine. I, being bored out of my mind these days, called my cousin, 25 male, to check in to see how he was doing. And he gladly told me a story that happened to him about a week ago. He works at an animal hospital. Some are still open, unlike what you may think. Anyways, as for detailing his job, he told me that company policy during the virus is that they can do exams in an owner's car for contagious illness, like kennel cough or the doggy flu. For more experimental, as in attempting to diagnose something they can't see from the get-go, they would allow the owner to stay in the car while they work on the pet in the hospital. Or in dire situations, such as a put-down, they allow the owner to come in with them. But not just anyone. From what I collected, they don't want any cross-contamination, both in terms of pets, with the illness they are being treated for, and the families themselves. Here's the cast of our story. MC, my cousin. Karen, a typical Karen. Do I really need to explain more? EH, Karen's entitled husband. ES, Karen's spoiled son. ED, Karen's spoiled daughter. A whole family of entitled people, I know. DR, the doctor that he works under. C1, my cousin's co-worker. And R, receptionist. It's a perfectly normal Tuesday morning. My cousin gets to his job early because the doctor requested that my cousin gets there early to help out with something. That matter is resolved pretty quickly, and my cousin starts to go about the rest of his day. While my cousin does love his job, he often talks about how it shatters his heart to see animals in pain, and especially to have to see a family go through a put-down. Anyway, at about 10:15, a family who pulls in to drop off their dog to be treated. C, a sweet lady about 9 or 10 years older than him, walks out to see who it is and what the issue is. Cue the instant annoyed Karen. C begins to talk as Karen rolls down the window. Good morning, ma'am. How can I help?
My dog is sick and he needs to be treated now.
That's what we're here for. Can you please explain?
He needs to be treated. I don't want him to die. And if you don't treat him, he will die.
Ma'am, I'm very sorry your dog is sick, but I need you to explain the issue. Karen, visibly angry, starts to talk over her again. C1 talking over the Karen, silencing her for the minute. I can't help your dog if you don't tell me what's wrong with him.
Well, he's been whimpering all day, and yesterday he won't go outside. You're the ones who are supposed to be treating him. How am I supposed to know?
C1 wanting to stop talking to this grumpy lady. Thanks for the information. I'll come take your dog inside with me and you can wait in the car. Where is your dog now?
He's in the trunk, in his kennel.
C1 goes to unload the dog, then returns to the window for an obligatory question. Is there anything else you want me to know before I bring him inside?
Yes, we want to go inside with him.
I'm afraid that won't be possible.
Are you telling me that I can't come inside with my dog? I'll tell all my friends that you're all animal abusers if you won't. Let me and my precious children in. Then I can keep an eye on you.
C1 begins to cave. I'll go talk with doctor. C1 talks with doctor, then returns. The doctor says you may stay in the waiting area as long as you do not make a ruckus.
I knew it! Then I can make sure you're not touching my dog.
C1 goes inside, family in tow. The family takes a seat and C1 takes their dog back. Keep in mind, none of this happened to my cousin. He told me that he was originally a bit confused when they are sitting there, but when told that doctor gave the okay, he doesn't push farther. Everything is fine for about 25 minutes or so. Then, they start to get impatient. My cousin told me that the animal hospital wait times are long, and are now even longer with the presence of the virus. Karen goes up to the counter to talk to the receptionist.
Excuse me, what's taking so long?
I'm sorry, your dog is in the process of being treated, and this may take several hours until they are finished with him.
Well, why won't they hurry up?
Because we take our job seriously, and they don't want to rush treatment so that your dog can return to normal.
We have places to be.
You may leave if you want. We'll give you a call when we are done.
No, you are all animal abusers, and I will not leave until I know that my dog is safe.
At this point, the receptionist isn't willing to fight the fight any longer, and to her relief, Karen goes back to her family and sits down with a huff. This series of complaints isn't even the end of the story. Far from it. It gets worse, but the story gets better in a way, I guess. They've been sitting there, waiting for about an hour, before the kids start getting restless and are running around the waiting area, uncontrolled by their mum. Strictly against what the doctor previously said, which makes my cousin upset when he sees them after coming out of a room to deliver another patient their dog. When these little brats see the dog, being the spoiled brats they are, they both beg to pet the dog. My cousin says no, as it's against company policy to allow anyone but hospital staff and the pet's owner to touch the pet in the hospital. They begin to cry and they run and tell their mum. Immediately, my cousin knows now he has to deal with the Karen and most likely her husband. So he prepares himself for the barrage of the entitled parents' questions. As expected, after hearing her kids' complaints, she stomps over to me and starts shrieking at me, and soon her husband joins in. Excuse me? Yes? Why won't you let my kids touch that dog? They'll be really gentle, and they deserve it for having to sit around with all you slowpokes and animal abusers. I'm sorry, but it's against company policy to allow people from outside hospital staff and the owner of the dog to touch them. Karen, not unexpectedly, throws a hissy fit. If you don't let my kids pet that dog right now, I'm calling the cops on you, and will tell them that you have been abusing animals. This dog just had major intestinal surgery to get something removed from his colon. He's very tired and will get upset if provoked. Can't you just let them pet it? It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. If you pet it, it might bite you or your children. Then why are you taking care of it? It should be put down if it's biting little children. I should call animal control to tell them to put it down because you animal abusers taught him to bite. At this point, my cousin feels his blood boiling, and he wanted to slap her in the face at her utter stupidity. Thankfully, at that exact moment, Doctor comes and rescues me from Karen and her husband, and manages to cool them down while my cousin brings the dog outside to his waiting owners. You would think that would be it, but no. It takes a huge downward spiral from here. About 30 minutes afterward, the Karen's family is still waiting. Their wait time totals about an hour and 45 minutes at this point. Another family rushes in with their dog. Their dog is obviously very old and frail, and while the family is hoping for the best, she's probably going to need to be put down. These are the dire circumstances that my cousin told me to mention before. The hospital lets the family in, and they, unfortunately, must put the dog down. The other family, obviously, is deeply saddened by this, but the father allows us to go through with it. He says that he doesn't want her in pain anymore, and my cousin, although upset to see the family in anguish, agrees. After about 10 minutes after all is said and done, the family comes out crying. My cousin comes out of the room, holding a wooden box with their dead dog inside, as they'd requested to bury it on the property so that they still could feel a sense of closeness to their dog. He is walking towards the door when he locks eyes with Karen. Big mistake. Karen goes completely off the rails. She notices my cousin carrying the box and rushes quickly to stop him from following in the tracks where the other family, grieving, has just exited. Excuse me, ma'am, I need to get through. I'm not going to move through unless you tell me what is in that box. Ma'am, what's in that box must be given to the other family immediately. Please move. Angered by the fact that she isn't getting her way, this bee immediately starts pestering MC with questions. Asking why my cousin and the hospital has been rude to her family this whole time. Asking if there was animal abuser stuff in that box. Asking if her dog is in there and why we're kidnapping him. Those were some of the many outlandish questions she was asking my cousin. My cousin losing his patience at this bee. Ma'am, you really need to move. This must be delivered to the other family so they may leave. Karen screeching like a banshee.
I will not leave! You need to show me the box or else I'm calling the cops!
MC absolutely fed up with it, talking loudly now. It is not my obligation to show you something that another patient needs. Company policy requires us to keep the personal info of our clients secret. And Karen blows her top. Her husband, who was standing next to MC, but he hadn't noticed, grabs the box from my cousin's hands. Now it's my cousin's turn to get mad. That is private property. Give it back to me or I'll call the cops on you. Karen, smug now.
That won't happen. I'll show them all of the tools that you use to abuse poor animals, and you'll be locked up, and it'll be so funny to see the look on your face when my husband opens this.
Her husband then slams the box down on the floor, sending the box into splinters and the dead dog on full display.
I knew it! You were all vile! I'm calling the cops on you right now!
At this point, everyone else had come out to see what is going on. Karen and her husband are apprehended, and the receptionist ends up calling the police, who eventually come. Karen is screaming like a banshee the whole time.
These people are animal abusers! They are just killing animals! Just look at this dead dog!
MC and basically all his co-workers are telling the police the true story of events. They handcuff Karen and her husband and haul them off to a cruiser, while the kids are given to the care of a social worker. And they left. Since that only happened a little over a week or so, I don't know what happened. But my cousin and I hope that Karen gets jail time. She freaking deserved it. Just think about that poor family who had to suffer through their dog dying, only for some entitled B to come in and ruin it even more. These psychopaths were shown every form of kindness at this animal hospital, and every inch they were given, they took a mile. I don't know if their dog was actually sick or not. Obviously they were worried about their pet. At least they've got that going for them. I mean, they must have had some really bad experience in the past to go on with all sorts of accusations like that and basically demand everything under the sun. The problem is, now that creates a bad experience for that other family that was there. Hopefully they don't blame the staff and hopefully they recognize it was that stupid entitled family that caused all the pain. This is a story from a couple of months ago, and sadly, instead of one entitled parent, it involves many entitled parents. Every year my family volunteers for a big fall fair with rides, games, crafts, and a lot of locally grown food. This year, some of the local farmers donated a bunch of pumpkins to the fair so they could create this beautiful pumpkin display. Less than an hour after the fair opened for the day, and the pumpkin display was a mess. Many parents, the poor lost souls, had mistaken the pumpkin display for a playground. They stood to the side and chatted as though they were at the park while their children made a mess of the display, climbing the pumpkins, throwing the pumpkins, kicking the pumpkins, smashing the pumpkins. We quickly evacuated the families. This caused the children to complain, which resulted in their parents giving us stink eye for ruining their day. We tried to resemble the display as much as we could and put up a sign in front of it that said not to touch the pumpkins. Not long later, we returned to the display only to find that the sign has been uprooted and tossed to the side, and the display was destroyed again. There were broken pumpkins everywhere. There were also families who decided to go pumpkin picking with their children in the display, happily choosing out their favorite pumpkins and carrying them off. We tried to stop the parents, told them that the pumpkins weren't for taking home. Many of the parents would claim, "But my son really likes this pumpkin," and
"Why would you want to put them outside if they weren't for us to take?"
We explained to the parents that there were many stalls at the fair where farmers were selling some pumpkins, but they replied most people complaining about how they would have to pay for those pumpkins. There was even one lady who just looked at us and kept walking as we tried to stop her. Once again, we cleared out the people and this time shut down the display. The display of roughly 30 pumpkins had been reduced to 6 that were still intact, all before noon. I'm just imagining this poor pumpkin display being all smashed up and they're like, let's try and make this work and put it back together. Oh, I feel really bad for them. And just imagine being one of those farmers who donated like, oh, this would be a really nice thing for the community. The community comes in with their kids and they just smash everything you've donated. You're like, why? Why did I do this? And the nerve of someone to uproot the sign, like as if, well, now the magical spell will stop protecting the pumpkins and we can do what we like again. We're free! Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.